Hello, how are you my dear students? Welcome to Samveda classes. I hope you are all waiting for the math class of class 7. We are in the third session of the third chapter, data handling in class 7. In the previous class, we had studied about the measures of central tendency, mean, median, mode and range. Today, we are studying about the graphical representation of data along with probability and chances. My dear students, you are all familiar with this adage, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'm sure you are all watching the picture and it speaks. There is another saying, children, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A graph is worth 1,000 pictures. I'm sure you are all understanding how important graph is. In this particular picture, graph on televisions during cricket match is not unfamiliar to you. Not only you, every layman who likes cricket has come across these graphs on television. On the left side, you can see runs scored per over by a team, and on the right side, you can see the graph showing career of a cricketer, Cheteshwar Pujara of India. Why only sports? Even the graphs on newspapers as well as news are very familiar to you. You can see the vaccinations drive that is going on, people who have got vaccinated in the first dose and yet to be vaccinated in the second, weather forecasting and the effects of stocks and shares due to the pandemic that has hit, and also during elections we can see many graphs. But what is bar graph? A bar graph is a representation of numerical data in pictorial form of rectangles or bars having uniform width and varying heights. Bar graphs, also known as bar charts or column graphs, use vertical or horizontal bars to represent the data. My dear children, can you tell me the advantages of bar graph? Let us see a few advantages listed here. When rectangles are arranged next to one another, it becomes convenient for the observer to compare different bars or values at a glance. A bar graph can make it much easier to notice changes that are not obvious when viewing the raw data or tabular data. The graph summarizes the large set of data in a simple visual form. It displays each category of data in frequency distribution. It clarifies the trend of data better than the table. And finally, it helps in estimating the key values at a glance. My dear children, you may be wondering who invented this bar graph. Here is the inventor. William Playfair, a Scottish engineer and political economist, the founder of graphical methods of statistics. William Playfair invented 4 types of diagrams. In 1786, the line graph and bar chart of economic data, and in 1801, the pie chart and circle graph used to show part-whole relations. The credit goes to William Playfair. My dear children, world's first bar chart from the Commercial and Political Atlas shows the relative importance of Scotland's trading partners. Here is the world's first bar chart which was designed by William Playfair. Children, observe this bar chart and answer the questions that follow. Here is a bar chart of birthday of some students in a class by month. The x-axis representing the month and y-axis represents the number of students, which is the frequency. I hope you all have gone through the bar graph. Now it's question, during which month maximum students celebrate their birthday? Perfect. It is during June. Next question, how many students celebrate during the last 4 months? Correct. Add from September to December, you get the answer. Here it is. September 7, October 8, November 4 and December 6. Totally, there are 25 students who are celebrating their birthday in the last 4 months. And final question for you. How many students are there in all? Correct, you need to add all of them. And here is the answer for you. It is 65 students celebrate their birthday in all. Now children, it's practical activity time. We will plot bar graph for a given set of data practically. I'm sure you all have your graph sheets and all other stationeries required. If not, go get it very fast. Before doing that, we need to know the steps to draw bar graphs. Let us go through that first. First step, decide on the title for your graph. Example that we had seen the previous graph as birthday of students by month. Step 2, take a graph paper and draw a horizontal line OX and vertical line OY. The horizontal line is called x-axis and the vertical line is called y-axis. Step 3, along the x-axis, that is horizontal axis, mark the points at equal intervals. Write the names of the data whose values are to be plotted below the x-axis. The model is shown on the right side for you children. Step 4, choose a suitable scale for values on the vertical line, that is y-axis. Calculate the range of data to decide that. On the vertical line, determine the height of the bar for the numerical data to be plotted. I'm sure you can see that on the right side too. Children, choose the scale wisely. Consider the highest and the lowest numerical value to decide the scale. Step 5, draw the bar to show the total for each item. Ensure equal space between the rectangles drawn. Now, it's time for us to draw. I'll be demonstrating it to you and you will follow me simultaneously. Okay? My dear children, the following data gives the production of food grains expressed in 1000 tons for some years in Karnataka. The data is tabulated for you on the right side. Later, answer these questions that follow. What will be the appropriate scale to plot the data as bar graph? My dear children, before plotting, ensure that you choose the scale wisely. Represent the given data as a bar graph, which we will be going to do it now. How do you think the quantity of production of food grains changed over years? Justify your opinion. Now let's start plotting the graph. Children, now we will be plotting the graph. The title that I have written here is production of food grains. The x-axis and y-axis has been drawn mutually perpendicular to each other. I have marked equal intervals on the x-axis. Here we have chosen an appropriate scale of 1 centimeter equals 10,000 tons. Here we have marked for every 2 centimeters as 20,000 tons. You can observe that here. This has been done like this in order to the graph looks better to compare. Now we will start plotting the graph for the given data. In 1995, the food production was 120,000 tons. So we will plot 120 in the first column. My dear children, use pencil for your drawing. In 1996, the production was 150,000 tons. So we will mark the point between 140 and 160 so that in 1997 the production was 140,000 tons. In 1998 the production of food grains went up to 170 tons. In 1999 it was 180 and in 2000 it went up to 200,000 tons. Children, this is a bar graph which depicts the food grain production in 1000 tons over the years in Karnataka. Can you tell me which year we had the maximum production? Yes, it was in 2000. What do you think the quantity of production of food grains changed over the years? What is the reason for that? Some of the reasons are the improved science and technology, improved quality of food grains, fertilizers, and also farmers are being educated very often, and data handling has played a vital role which has also contributed for the increase in the food grain production. I'm sure you all will agree and also find out many other factors which may be the cause for this. Children, we just now plotted the bar graph. But I have a very interesting graph for you as well now. I'm sure many of you love this graph to see, and these are youth icons. Virat Kohli on one side and Sachin Tendulkar on the other, the true legends. You can compare the graphs that are given here on the left side as well as right side. My dear children, you will compare this to check who has scored fastest 12,000 runs and how they have scored. Apart from that, you have another picture here. The other two legends of football, Lionel Messi and Ronaldo. You all do the comparison for 30 seconds. Are you happy? There is another much easier way to compare this using double bar graphs. I will be teaching you that now. Let us move on, children. Here is another newspaper extract, that is runs scored by Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli in India and abroad. The comparisons you can see. Sachin Tendulkar has scored more runs abroad compared to Virat Kohli, while Virat Kohli has scored more number of runs at home than Sachin. This comparison is done after 12,000 runs in ODI cricket. This is another graph which compares the marks scored by a student in first term and second term. Of course, you all will do this as well. Here is a situation for you children in order to compare the scores before preparation for a test and after preparation for a test. Now you will be observing this graph and you will infer from that. Can you tell me what you have observed here? Test scores of students with and without preparation. Samhita has scored 90 after preparation and she has scored just 75 in a test before preparation. You can observe Rahim has scored 80 after preparing and 60 before preparation. Similarly, Joseph 75 after preparation and 65 before preparation for the test. And you can see Rakesh, he has scored centum after preparing. So what can you infer from this? Practice makes man perfect. So always get prepared for the tests or any sort of examinations. Situation 2. Here you can observe data collected from a survey of a township to conduct the annual sports meet. A few of them participated and remaining became spectators. That data is given in front of you and we are supposed to plot double bar graph for this particular data provided. After plotting the graph, we need to answer these questions. The questions are as follows. Draw a double bar graph choosing an appropriate scale. What do you infer from that bar graph? Which is the most popular sport? Which is more preferred, watching or participating in the sports? My dear children, here I have shown an animated graph for you. First step, draw x-axis and y-axis as we discussed earlier. Next, make equal marks on the x-axis. Similarly, make equal markings on the y-axis and write the categories on the x-axis that you want to compare with a suitable scale. That is, y-axis 1 unit equals 200 persons. Green color represents spectators and red color represents participants. Now with this suitable scale, make the markings on the y-axis which represents number of persons, that is the frequency. After that, draw bar graph of spectators first and later you also draw for participants. Now after doing that, we can answer the questions. This is the data for which you are doing now. I am sure you all have done that without fail. Now let us answer the questions that follow this particular bar graph. What was the scale that we chose for this? Yes, y-axis is what? 1 unit equals 200 persons. Which is the most popular sport here? Correct, it is cricket. How many of them used to watch that? 1260. Which is more preferred, watching or participating? Of course, watching sports was preferred more than participating. I'm sure you are all eager to participate, children. Practice more bar graphs as well as double bar graphs. Take some bar graphs and try to compare and interpret the data that you have observed. Now, let us move on to the next subtopic called chances and probability. In our daily life, we have come across many such statements. Let us see a few. It is very likely to rain today. Indian team has a greater chance of winning the test series against England. Most likely, schools are reopening in October. Less chance of going for a trip during vacation due to pandemic. I will certainly attend your birthday party. Since I am not feeling well, it is very unlikely I will be going to office tomorrow. A person winning both gold and silver medal in the same race. This is impossible. If you wake up early, the sun rises in the west. I'm sure, children, most of your parents would have told this because they know you will not wake up early and sun will never rise in the west. What is so special about these sentences, children? Now, we have been coming across these words quite often. The words certain, likely, doubt, even chance, unlikely, impossible, used in the statements above, involve an element of uncertainty or certainty. What are these trying to do? They try to convey the chances or probability of occurrence of the events that we discussed above. What did you observe? Some of them were definite to happen. I will certainly attend your party. And some of them which are definitely not happening. Which are those? If you wake up early, the sun rises in the west. It is impossible, right? And I'm not feeling well, so I'm unlikely that I will go to office. That means there is lesser chances of going to office. So, there is an impossible thing happening and there is also definitely that is guaranteed which will happen. In between, there is also chances may or may not go to the office or may not rain. So what are we trying to do here? Actually, we are trying to measure the uncertainty verbally. So, the quantitative measure of uncertainty of an event is called probability, or the degree of uncertainty of an event is called probability. Now, question arises, but what is the need to measure this uncertainty? My dear children, in our daily life it may not work so much, but in case of business, in case of predictions, in case of doing better, we need these kind of measurements. It plays a vital role in our progress of not only an individual but also a group and even country. For example, here is a win or lose probability. In the test match against England, India has a winning probability of just 30%, while England has 65% chance of winning the game. Also, there is a 5% chance of the game being drawn, not only in cricket. You all might have seen these kinds of win or lose probabilities in various games, isn't it, children? Now, let us look at some of the terms related to probability. Which are those? The first is trial. A trial is an action which results in one or more outcomes. Example, tossing a coin, getting a head is a trial. Outcome. The result of an activity is called an outcome. Again, when you roll a die, you get an even number or an odd number. This is also an outcome. Random experiment. An experiment in which the results of a trial cannot be predicted in advance is called random experiment. Or an experiment that can give different outcome even though repeated in same manner under same condition is termed as random experiment. In a random experiment, all possible outcomes or results are known even before the experiment is performed. But when the experiment is performed, we are unable to tell the correct outcome. We can only predict. Let me show you some examples of random experiments. First, tossing a coin. Children, in cricket match, before starting of the match, the referee will toss the coin. Why do you think the tossing of a coin is the correct way to decide who has to bat or who has to bowl first? Think. Correct. The coin has two faces. One is head, the other one is tail. When you toss the coin, both outcomes have equal chances of occurring. At the same time, both the teams have equal chance of choosing whoever wants head or tail. Similarly, another experiment is what? Rolling dice. I'm sure you're all enjoying with that, correct? Playing Ludo and many other things. Third, it is the Indian dice. I'm sure you're all aware of Shakuni Mama in Mahabharata. So this is Daikattu. This I'm sure many of you would have tried. Bottle flipping. You have water in that and you try to flip and you will try to check your chance whether you can win or not. And this is another desi game called, Kannada we call it as Kavade. When we do an experiment with tossing of coin, children, and when we repeat the tossing of coins nearly 20 times, these are the outcomes that I got. You also can try out. You may not get the same exact outcomes itself, but it will be either head or tail. Now, after doing this for several times, that is, initially we did for 20 times, next it was extended to 50, and then 100 and 500. The number of heads that came each number of time was recorded and tabulated. When it was 20 times, we got head 12 times and tails was 8 times. When it was done 50, head was 30 and tails was 20. When it was 100, heads was 52 and tails was just 48. And 500 times when we tossed, we got 485 times head and 515 times tails. What can you see here? As you are doing more and more number of trials, the chance of getting a head or a tail is becoming equal. Initially it looked head has more chances of occurrence, but as and when we increase the number of trials, they had almost equal chance of occurrence. For that, not just I, the one who actually introduced probability to the world, they have done a lot of experiments, and this kind of experiments are called experimental probability or empirical probability. In 18th century, a French naturalist, Comte de Buffon, tossed coins 4040 times and got heads about 2048 times. The experiment probability of getting a head in this case was 0.507, that is nearly 50%. Carrick from Britain recorded 5067 heads in 10,000 tosses of a coin. The experimental probability that he got was 0.067, which is much nearer to 0.5 compared to the previous case. A statistician, Carl Pearson, did this for 24,000 times and he got 12,012 times heads and remaining tails. That is 0.5005, which is almost equal to 50%, that is half. Therefore, what we can conclude, the probability of getting a head or a tail is 1/2. That is, head and tail are equally likely outcome, which means head has equal chance of occurrence as the tail, or vice versa. If you roll a die, I'm sure you all know, you can either get 1, 2, 3, up to 6. Any of these are possible. Now, the question that arises is, what is the probability of getting the number 4? Think. Yes, it is correct. It is 1/6. And if anyone asks what is the probability of getting the number 6, it is not 6 by 6. It is also 1 by 6. That's because occurrence of each number on the dice are equally likely. Hence, the probability of each number is 1 by 6 itself. Let us now consider a problem on not equally likely outcome. All of you like gems, right? Here is a problem for you. A gems chocolate box contains 15 pink, 5 blue and 6 yellow chocolates. One chocolate is drawn at random. What is the probability of getting a pink chocolate? The probability of getting a pink chocolate is 15 divided by 15 plus 5 plus 6. 15 plus 5 plus 6 is the total number of chocolates. Therefore, the probability of getting a pink chocolate is 15 by 21. What does this mean? This means for every 7 chocolates, you get 5 pink chocolates. But what is the probability of getting a yellow chocolate? The probability of getting a yellow chocolate is 6 by 21, which means 2 by 7. What can you infer from this? For every 7 chocolates, you will get 2 yellow chocolates. Now I think you can even calculate for blue chocolates. So what can you understand? These chocolates doesn't have equal probability of occurrence. So they are not equally likely outcome. Now I would like to ask you a question. We all discussed a die has 6 possibilities from 1 to 6. If I ask you what is the probability of getting the number 8, then your answer will be, sir, how is it possible? I am not saying it is possible. Definitely it is impossible. Children, I have a box and I have 5 rupee coins with me. I will put all these 5 rupee coins into this box and mix it thoroughly. If I ask you to come and pick one coin without saying, what is the probability that I get a 5 rupee coin from this? Sir, it is obvious, sir. You have all 5 rupee coins and definitely it should be 5 rupee coin itself. I didn't say no, therefore it should be 5 rupee coin itself. And it is a sure event or certain event. Now, what is the probability of the impossible event and sure event? Let us take a look of it. The probability of an impossible event is 0, while the probability of a certain event is 1. We should also know that the probability of any event lies between 0 and 1. This picture will confirm that. Do you agree, children? My dear children, it is home assignment now. Here is a question for you. Please do solve it and submit it to your teacher. This is the second question on probability. Namaste, I am Pramod Keshamurthy from Sindhi High School, Hebal. Till we meet again, thank you.